Alrighty, so thank you students for attending our Child Development Permit workshop today. Today we have two wonderful presenters with us, Dr. Mo and our counselor from Rio Hondo College, Angelica Martinez. I'm going to go ahead and hand it to them so they can introduce themselves.
Okay, so the title of our presentation, I'm Dr. Mo, and I'm going to start out, is Child Development Permit, Qualifications, and How to Apply.
Thank you, Dr. Mo. And I'm Angelica Martinez. Dr. Mo is going to start off the permit presentation. I'm actually counseling faculty at Rio Hondo College, and I focus on the behavioral and social sciences and work really closely with students who are child development majors or who want to be future teachers and who want to get their permit. So welcome.
And we're lucky to have her. Okay, we can go to the first slide. So what we're going to talk about today is we're going to go over general permit information and the role of the Child Development Training Consortium. We're going to review the Child Development Permit Matrix, and we're briefly going to review professional growth hours and requirements for permit renewal. And then finally, we're going to explain the Child Development Permit application process and qualifying options. And so to start out, I want to mention to you that we got this PowerPoint from the Commission on Teacher Credentialing website. So it's accurate from their point of view. And so the information comes directly from those that issue the Child Development Permit, and that's the Commission on Teacher Credentialing, CTC. This is located in Sacramento, and it's also under the guidance and the leadership of our governor, Gavin Newsom. And they are the final authority to grant or deny a permit. And of course, they also do credentials, but keep in mind that credentials are not permits and permits are not credentials. And so sometimes students get confused about that. So you have the website there, ctcca.gov, for the general website. And then they've created a new website just for early childhood education. And it has all of our information, including permits. And we'll take a look at that when I finish this part of the PowerPoint up. And we can go to the next slide. So we're going to talk about first the permit requirements.
Sorry, I went ahead a little bit. Let me go
It's
back.
automatically changing. My slides do that sometimes.
It did. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Let me go ahead and just start it from here. Okay, sorry.
Okay, so there are 6 levels to the permit. The lowest level is the assistant. Then there's associate teacher and teacher and a master teacher, and then 2 managerial positions, the site supervisor and the program director. All of these permits are valid for 5 years, and they can be renewed early, 1 year early, if you want to do that. The teacher level and above may be renewed on the CDTC website, and the 2 lower levels, assistant and associate, must be renewed by mail. Go ahead. And so here's the permit matrix. And so one of the things to keep in mind about this matrix is that this was created by the Child Development Training Consortium. And so in order to get access to that, you have to go on their website, and it's childdevelopment.org. And so we'll talk about that several times. But what this matrix does is it gathers all kinds of information about the permit. It shows the requirements for each level of the permit, what it authorizes you to do, and that authorization is the second from the right column. Then it shows you renewal requirements. So you can go ahead. And so let's start with the first one. The first level is the assistant level. And at this level, you need 6 units in child development with at least a grade of C or better. And you're not required to have any experience.
And if I can add, Dr. Mo, that it could be any 6 units in child
Right.
development, because sometimes students come to me and will say, oh, does it have to be this class or that class? No, it could be any 6 units as long as you have a C or better.
Yeah, it makes sense though to start with your core classes.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about core classes right now. And so at the associate teacher level, this is a second level. And here you're required to have 12 units of ECE or child development, and this includes the core units. And so the core units would include CD 106, which is child growth and development, CD 110, which is principles and practices in early childhood education, CD 111, which is ECE curriculum, and CD 208, child, family, and community. And these core courses are important to the Commission on Teacher Credentialing, but these are also important to childcare licensing as well for private for-profit and private nonprofit programs. For the teacher permit, the requirement is 24 units of ECE, CD, and 16 units of GE. And so the 24 units should include those core classes we just mentioned. And then the general ed or GE requirements includes 1 course from each of math, science, social science, and remind me of what I can't see at the bottom, Angelica.
Oh, sorry. It's science, humanities or art, and then English or language arts.
Okay.
So like your first level, like if you're taking English 101, that would count.
Yeah.
A lot of students what I found is a lot of students struggle in this major struggle with math. So a lot of times for their units in math science, they will use a science course to get this permit because they tend to leave math till the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, it's math or science, social science, humanities, art, and then English and language arts.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And all of these courses, of course, have to be passed with a grade of C or better. Okay, you can go to the next. And so now we have some experience requirements, and something to really keep in mind about these experience requirements. They're not in hours, they're in days. And they also, these days have to be at least 3 hours plus and within a certain time. And so this is really important to remember. So the associate, oh, and by the way, the assistant does not need any experience requirements, but they do need to be 18 years old to get that permit. So the associate teacher permit requires 50 days of experience within the last 2 years. And again, those days have to be at least 3 more hours. For the teacher permit, the requirement is 175 days within the last 4 years. And again, the same hours for each day. And so an 8-hour workday cannot count, and I emphasize not, as 2 days of experience if it's in the same calendar days. So more hours does not mean more days.
Right. And the other question I get a lot, and I'm not sure if I'm going to cover this a little later on, but there is the misconception that volunteer hours don't count, and they do.
They do.
So some students have been told that the hours have to be paid. They do not have to be paid. They could be volunteer hours as long as you keep to these guidelines of each, like, you know,
at least
has
hours.
To be first.
Yeah, that time block, right.
Mm-hmm.
And so then for the renewal for the associate teacher level, you have to have initial associate teacher permit is valid for 5 years. You can renew this only 1 time. And the intent of this is that they want you to be on the pathway to get a teacher level permit. And you must complete additional 15 units towards the teacher level permit. And remedial units do not count towards this renewal. And there's no extension if the renewal requirement is not met. And something that happens a lot to me is a student will come to me and say, I haven't done my hours to renew. And at the last minute, what can we do about it?
Mhm.
And there really isn't anything we can do. And we'll talk more about these renewals in a little bit.
Right, and what we mean by remedial units are classes that are, say, for example, numbered 100 level and below. So any kind of basic skills class, which we really don't offer too much at Rio Hondo anymore, but that would be something like Math 70 or Reading 23 or Reading 43. Those units do not count towards renewal. They have to be transfer level units.
So what would be the titles of those classes?
It could be anything. It could be, English 101. It could be philosophy 110.
The title of the classes you said were remedial, just for their information. What do you remember what they might be titled as?
Basic skills.
Basic skills.
Yes. So basic skills classes. So that would be anything that is like I said, Math 70, which we don't offer at Rio anymore, but other schools may offer remedial classes still. And so those units will not count toward the renewal of this associate teacher program.
Okay, let's go to the next one. And so there's also alternative qualification options, and these allow a permit holder to get a permit without an experience requirement. And sometimes it also affects coursework requirements. And for a teacher level, an associate degree in early childhood or child development with 3 units of supervised field experience is required. And at Rio Hondo, that's the field experience class is CD 228, ECE practicum. For a master teacher, a BA with 12 units of ECE and 3 units of a supervised field experience is required. And we kind of skip the first 2 levels with those alternative requirements. And part of the reason why is that HERO program for the assistant alternative requirement really doesn't exist anymore. And we don't really have a lot of ROPs. Although some high schools do have child development programs located at their high school, or community colleges offer college credit for students taking classes in high school. For the associate teacher, the CDA, the Child Development Associate Credential, and this comes from NAEYC. And because we have so many community colleges in California, it's not used very often unless you live in a remote part of the state where you really don't have access, like far northern California, or maybe some areas on the eastern side of California. It's not used very often. Okay, so we can go to the next, I think. And so let's just take a closer look at some other alternative qualifications. And we'll look at the first option for master teacher is 24 ECE units, including core units, 6 specialization units, and specialization means 2 classes in the same area. And at Rio Hondo, we have actually specialization certificates in 3 areas where we have 2 classes that focus on the same topic or area of study: language and literacy, which is CD 120 and CD 229, special education, which is CD 226 and CD 232, and infant and toddler, which is CD 211 and 213. Also, for master teacher, you're required to take an adult supervision class because you're going to be working with adults. We had a class, CD 210, but we didn't have enough students that enrolled in that class, so we've taken it out of the catalog, but it hasn't completely disappeared. If we find we have a demand, we could bring it back. Cerritos College, though, offers this class online every semester. So that's a good option for that. And then you have to have 16 GE units and 350 days of experience. And those GE units are listed under there that we just talked about. For option 2, days of experience are not required. You can have a BA or bachelor's degree or higher, but it doesn't have to be in ECE or child development. This part our field doesn't really like, but we're hoping it goes away sometime because we don't feel like this 12 units of ECE really doesn't give them the information that they need to know. And even though it says 12 units, it doesn't have to be the core units. And so that to our field generally is not acceptable to us. And then they have to take the practicum class. And one of the nice things about having to take the practicum class is it has prerequisites. So that means that these people that want to apply under option 2 generally have to take those core units to take practicum. So that's a saving grace to this list. Okay, and I think we're going to go to site supervisor now, right? Okay, so the option 1 for site supervisor is an associate degree or 60 units, including 24 ECE units, including the core units we've already talked about, plus 2 administration units. And at Rio Hondo, it's CD 222 and CD 223. These 2 classes also are not, we don't offer it. It's not in our catalog right now because, again, we haven't had a lot of students that have followed this pathway. But if we get demand, we can bring that back. Our Fullerton Community College and Cerritos do offer these classes. Plus, you have to have those adult supervision units again, and those 16 GE or general ed units, and 350 days of experience, just like mentor teacher. But that experience has to include 100 days of supervising others. And this could be like if you're a teacher supervising an assistant teacher in your classroom. Option 2, days of experience are not required. And again, a BA or higher does not have to be in the ECE or CD or child development. And there's those 12 units again, doesn't have to be core, but nicely, at least the practicum class or supervised field experience is there. And lastly, we have the program director. And to do that, again, a BA that doesn't have to be in early childhood or child development, and 24 units, including the core, the 6 units of administration, the 2 adult supervision units. But the experience is what differs from the site supervisor. This is 1 year of site supervisor experience. So it's kind of a step up from the site supervisor. For option 2, days of experience, again, are not required. You could have an administrative credential. And this one, the field's always had issues with because they may have and again, no experience with children or the 12 units. Then there's the 12 units again. They don't have to be core. And then the 3 units of practicum, which helps us with those not core units. I think we're ready. So now we've gone through the permit requirements. Now let's look at professional growth. At the bottom of here, you can see the Commission on Teacher Credentials Early Childhood Education page just focused on what we do. And you can see at the bottom of there, the second item on that page is the Child Development Permit overview, and it has all kinds of information about the permit. And then above that, there's information about the PK3 Early Childhood Education Specialist credential that's being developed right now. And so you can find information about that as well. And so to renew all of these permits, you need 105 professional growth hours every 5 years. And so, like I mentioned before, don't wait till the last year when your permit needs to be renewed. it's best to complete 21 hours each year, so you're well on your way to getting your 105 by the time you get to the 5th year. And you also need to find a professional growth advisor right away, because the commission wants you to set goals and create a plan for your professional growth. And these are the kinds of people that can serve as your professional growth advisor. A person who owns it, who has a child development permit at the teacher level or above. Plus, they need to have 3 years of experience teaching or serving as a director. It could be somebody with a master's degree or above in early childhood education or child development. So your community college professors could do it if they choose to. And also university levels professors could help you if they choose to. And then 5 or more years of experience as a director of a child development center. Most often, when we work in programs, we choose another colleague in our program where we work that has a permit themselves, and that gives them professional growth hours themselves. Okay, so what kinds of hours and what kinds of activities could you carry out? Let's look at that next. There are about 12 or 13 categories. I just picked a few to put on here. You need to pick at least 2 of the categories. So you could complete 1 or more college or university course in 3 semester units would equal 30 hours. So that means that you could get 60 hours if you took 2. You could attend conference workshops or staff development. You could be a leader in your center or as part of a group of centers above and beyond what you get paid to do, such as providing training for other staff members. You could provide a leadership role in a professional organization like the California Association for the Education of Young Children, or you could be in student government. We had a student one year that was the president of our student organization. You could be a professional growth advisor for other people for up to 50 clock hours. That's a lot of advising of a lot of people. You could improve your basic skills. Sometimes reentry students that have been working in the field for a long time may take computer skills because they may not be proficient in that, but it could be improving your writing and communication skills. And then we all have to receive instruction in CPR and first aid. So fortunately, that counts for us. Okay, so now we're going to look at the applications, and Angelica is going to do that for us.
Okay, so now it's my turn. I'm going to go over the application process. Thank you, Dr. Mo. Now that she has explained every single requirement or every level of permit, you probably have an idea of where you can apply. And now I'm going to show you how you can do that. So the way to apply is we work closely with the Child Development Training Consortium. And what they are is they are an organization that really supports future teachers. And part of what they do is for the permit is they provide permit stipends. So typically the permit costs about $100. And if you apply through the Child Development Training Consortium, you don't have to pay that fee. They'll pay that fee for you. They also on their website can have all the application materials. You can apply online, and I'll explain more about how that works, or you can apply with a paper copy. This is their website down here at the bottom. You also get reimbursed for a partial of your Livescan fees. So we will be going over that. They are located in Modesto, California. So it's a whole different entity than the CTC. And I know all of these sound very similar, CTC, CDTC, but you will become familiar with them. So just know with this one, you have to add that D in there. Okay, so their role in processing the permit is, like I said, they provide the application materials. they pay your permit application fee and a portion of the Livescan costs, and that's your fingerprints. This funding is available to all permit applicants, and it's based on the availability of funds. So it's a first come, first served basis. As long as I have been doing child development counseling, I don't think they've ever run out of money. Dr. Mo, have you seen them run out of money?
Well, they have in the past, and it's usually towards the end of spring semester and during summer. Sometimes summer students that want to, people that graduate in the spring, they get a flood of applications. And so sometimes you have to wait till the fall before when they get their new funding.
Right. And so the other thing I do get is students who complete, let's say, their degree in May, and then or they want to apply over the summer. Sometimes the application is closed for a few months until they know what their new funding will be. So students will just have to hold off if they want to get their permit paid for. So they'll wait for the stipend, and that usually will happen like sometime in early fall.
And sometimes their money gets delayed, and so sometimes they don't have money till October.
Right. So the CDTC, and I'm sorry for this is a typo up here. It's supposed to be CDTC. I'm confusing you a little bit more.
Notice that.
It's CDTC up here. It does not evaluate transcripts. So when as we go over the application process, they are not gonna, the CDTC is not gonna look at your coursework to make sure it meets the requirements. The Commission on Teacher Credentialing will do that. Or Dr. Mo, we can go over that later too. So just know that the CDTC, so don't because there is a contact us form on the CDTC website. If you email them and say, will this class count? They're not gonna know. You can ask me, you can ask Dr. Mo, and we will know.
So one thing to remember about that is if you send your application and you don't meet the requirements, they'll return it to you, and CDTC will not pay for your application fee again. And I'm talking about the CTC sending your application back. You'll have to pay for your application fee again and pay for it out of your pocket, unfortunately. So it makes sense to make sure that you meet all the requirements before you send it to CDTC or to the CTC.
Yes, correct. Okay, let's see. So on the CDTC website, you can see where you can find some general information. So if you go to I usually just Google CDTC, and it's like the first thing that pops up in my Google search. And then you go to the permit link, then you can find all of this information. And here's where you will find that permit matrix that we were reviewing just a little bit ago. It's right here. So that way, if you are thinking like, oh, I don't remember which permit I'm eligible for, just pull up that matrix and it guides you through it so you know what you need to be applying for. Where to find the permit application. So like I said, there are two ways that you can apply. There is the online application. So the applications are available here. So on the online, that's where you would find the online. And then you could also print a hard copy. And once this online application would prompt you through a lot of questions to make sure you're eligible for their permit stipend. And then with the hard copy, it's not going to be able to tell you if you're eligible. You're just going to have to think, I'm applying for one of the, these, I should be eligible. And the hard copy actually has step-by-step instructions of what you need to do to apply. Whereas the online application kind of just guides you. It's very, it's gonna, based on your response, it's gonna take you to where you need to be. For hard copy applications, this is the detailed checklist. It seems extremely overwhelming when students get this, because when you meet with me and I help you through the application process, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a copy of this application so that you can review it. Because just reading through the steps, you're going to get a lot of your questions answered. And then once based on what you've reviewed, and if you have any questions, then that's when we meet and we answer them. Because it's very thorough and it really walks you through it. And just know that there seems to be a lot of forms But once you start the process, it all makes sense. Okay, so for first-time applicants, all original documents are required. So for example, and it has to be a wet signature, so original signatures. So for example, you can't send copies. It has to be like the original document. It can't be a copy of your signature. It has to be a wet signature. So if you're eligible for the stipend, you don't have to send any money in with the application when you're going through the CDTC. On the application, there is a form that you fill out, which serves as sort of like your check. And just make sure you fill out that form, and you'll see it on the listing of instruction of how to fill out the application. So there is no waiting period for an upgrade. You may upgrade as soon as you're eligible. Inactive permits may be upgraded. And then what I want to highlight here is all applications result in hard copies of the application. So when it says online application, when this is very recent, maybe in the last few years, the online application, I thought like you could just apply online and you wouldn't have any documents to send in. No, what they mean by online application is you actually complete the application online, but then you print it and you mail it. So you're going to have to mail something in either way, whether you're going the hard copy way or the online way. The online way just allows you to input all your information online and then print it. Okay, verification of experience. And we went over a little bit of this with Dr. Mo's part, but experience, if you are getting the associate, any level which requires verification of experience, so like if you're getting the option 1 for associate and above, it has to be done, the experience has to be done in a child care setting with ages birth to age 5. So for example, in the past, I've had students who have done mixed groups, where it's ages 5, like in an after-school program, where you're working with kids like from all up, like ages 5 and up, or ages 3 to 10. The CTC will only accept half of those hours. So they have to be really mostly with children from birth to age 5. Experience does not, sorry, go on.
I was just going to mention that it includes TK and kindergarten.
Yes, so yes, kindergarten, yes, and TK, and preschool, of course, and early childhood. So yes, experience, like we said, does not have to be paid. So it could be volunteer. Observation courses do not count toward the verification of experience. So like our CD 114, which is observation and assessment, those hours do not count, but our practicum days do. Correct? And Dr. Mo, how many days would they get in the practicum class?
Well, they would get, if they have labs every week, so it'd be 16 days, but you can't count the academic course and the hours.
You don't get one. Yeah.
So your degree is more important. So
yes, she is correct. So you can only get credit for one, the actual course.
16 days. So
yeah, it's not that many. So you can't get credit for both meetings. So if you're doing CD 228 at Rio, which is our practicum course, students have felt that they could get days of experience with their hours, but you cannot use those days toward your class credit and volunteer or your experience. You have to pick one and you're going to go with the class. Let's see, a supervisor, professor, HR employee, or other individual must sign in verification of experience. So anyone who is your supervisor in wherever you're doing the volunteer work or wherever you're working. It could be your teacher, it could be someone in HR, it could be the principal, it could be the director of the preschool site. So any one of those people can be the person who signs on your verification of experience form. The number of days, like we talked about, that you need required based on the level that you're applying for. So if you're going to be associate, it's 50 days. If it's teacher, it's 175, and so forth. The hours must be 3+ in one day. And again, if it's 1 8-hour day, that just counts as 1 day. And days are calendar days. And then family childcare owners may also have to verify experience. So let's just say you work in a setting where it's like a family childcare center. That's done a little bit differently. The verification of experience can come from the parents of the family childcare. I've only had a student do that one. But if you work at a family childcare, those experience days can count.
And it's a different form.
It's a different form, yes. So for your transcripts, so the transcripts, they have to be official transcripts. And this is a little tricky because oftentimes, and this does not apply to anywhere else, this is just for the permit, we will say official transcripts, they must be on security paper, but they could actually be opened. And we actually encourage you to open them to make sure that your courses are on there or that your degree is posted. Yeah. So they have to be official. So on that security paper or that have that embossed seal, and you may open these transcripts. But like I said, this only applies to this, applicant, this permit, because any other time you get asked for official transcripts, they have to be sealed. But for the permit and the purposes of applying for the permit, we recommend that you open them to make sure that the coursework that needs to be on there that's required for your permit is listed. And it must include all education, even for upgrades. And let's see, the CTC, the Commission on Teacher Credentialing, does not keep record of what was submitted previously. So that's why you have to make sure it includes everything. So even if you're like building on another permit, it has to include all your coursework. Foreign transcripts have special requirements, and there's more information on the CDTC website. Do we now have the option for e-transcripts? And they can be sent to the Child Development Training Consortium, and there's an authorized email. See, when you're applying, it'll walk you through the process. And those go directly to the CDTC via the digital format.
Sometimes students that have used these, though, they haven't worked, and they end up having to pay to reapply. So
I haven't heard that, but you've probably heard
about that. So
yeah, it's pretty new. So I'm not sure they've ironed out all the glitches. So I would say just have them mailed in.
I would do that too, so that you have problems with it.
Yeah. Okay, and so your Livescan form, this is your fingerprints. And it's required for all first-time applicants. Many times I'll get students who say, oh, I already did my Livescan for my job where I'm at, or for my current job. You have to do it specifically for your permit, for the CTC, because it has a special number, like the special DOJ number. It's specifically for the permit. And once you do it once for the Commission on Teacher Credentialing, you don't have to do it again unless it expires. And we can talk more about that. So the way that you would fill this out is you fill out all sections in section 3, and then you leave the rest blank. You have to find a local Livescan provider. And if you can't find one, you can come to me and I can help you find one. Again, I just do a Google search, local Livescan agencies. You have to complete this form because it's part of your application packet. So I always tell my students, you mail the original with your application packet and you keep a copy of it just in case. You want to keep a copy of it in case it gets lost. You have this. Section 6 of this application, of this document, has to be completed by the Livescan operator before sending, and it must show the amount paid. Because when you get your Livescan done, you have to save your receipt when you pay for it, because as part of the application packet, they're going to ask you for your receipt so they can reimburse you the $49 for this fee.
They also require a printed receipt separate from this to get the reimbursement. So you not only need this Livescan page, but you need a separate receipt.
Right. And so you make sure that you keep a copy of those things. Typically, the Livescan fee will range anywhere between $70 and $90. So you don't get 100% reimbursed, but you do get $49 reimbursed. Here we go. So there you go. $49 reimbursed. Applicants must not have been fingerprinted by the Commission on Teacher Credentialing before, unless it's an expired permit. If your permit has been expired for over 18 months, then you will have to rescan. And only the DOJ and FBI fees are reimbursed, which are the $49. The rest it'll be something that you pay out of pocket. CDTC will reimburse an employer if requested. So let's say some of you are having your employer pay, some of your employers are paying for these Livescan fees. CDTC will reimburse an employer if requested. Online applications do not require a CDTC reimbursement form, but hard copy applicants do. So that must be something pretty new. I have not, most of the students I work with do the hard copy. So I haven't seen this process of not requiring the CDTC reimbursement form for the online application. Make sure you sign all your forms because they will be kicked back if they're not signed. That's something that students, sometimes forget, is to make sure they have signatures all in the right places. And then make sure you put who the check will be mailed to, whether it's your employer or you, the reimbursement check.
Something to be wary about with the Livescans is I've found students have had problems with tax businesses that do tax records and things like that, because sometimes they won't do the Livescan correctly, but it doesn't work when it's completed, but they won't reimburse students for paying for it. And so the money, by the way, over the top of the $49 is a rolling fee for the company to pay the company for providing the Livescan service.
Thank you. Okay, so the permit processing time, that's the big question. How long is it going to take to get my permit? So once you mail it out, the CDTC, the Child Development Training Consortium office, will have it for about 2 to 3 weeks. If the application is complete and funding is available. Once they review it all, everything looks great. They include their check for your permit fee. They send it off to the Commission on Teacher Credentialing. That's where we really don't know how long it'll take. Approximately 2.5 months. But that's just a ballpark. It could be sooner and it could be more. It really just depends on how busy they are. I would say that they're probably busier after, spring graduation, because a lot of students get their degrees in springtime. So that chunk of time right after is probably going to be busier than, say, somebody who gets their degree in December. So spring may not be as busy. So total time for processing is about 3 months, I would say, ballpark. Now we have a really cool thing here with Dr. Mo. It's called verification of completion. And Dr. Mo is, I don't know, sort of like I'm
the representative.
Yeah, you're her representative. Like, you have special powers where she can actually review your coursework. So if she reviews your coursework and makes sure that it's the right coursework, then she puts it's a form that she signs and you include in your application. And that's kind of like, it goes to like a speed track. Like, it's like an e-ticket at Disneyland or like Fast Pass. So that if you get that done with Dr. Mo, then it significantly reduces that time of processing. However, the thing is, all the coursework must be from Rio Hondo College. It can't be outside coursework. It has to be only Rio Hondo College coursework. So
what I need to do that is I need to see your transcripts, and also I need to see your application so I can see if what you're applying for is what you qualify for. And how we got this is the commission pre-approved all our coursework ahead of time. And then that means that I can okay it. And the commission doesn't have to go through all the coursework. But if there's not a verification of completion program, then the commission has to go through all the coursework to make sure it qualifies. And I'm told that it gives you the processing in half the time it would take if you don't have me sign those papers for you.
And the process to get that VOC form is, I have the forms actually in my office, and you can come and see me and we fill it out, and then We send the packet to Dr. Mo. She sits right down the hall from me, so I just put it in her mailbox. She reviews it, and then she contacts you when it's ready to be picked up. So on to the next. So we're leaving some time for some questions, but this is how you can contact us. This is my email, and this is the number from my office where you can call and make an appointment to see me. This is Dr. Mo's email, the CDTC website for you to peruse, go on there and just take a look at the application, and then the CTC website for, if you want to go look. There's so much information. It could be very overwhelming, but it's good to just get familiar with that. So does anyone have any questions? I see that there's some questions in the chat.
Florista mentioned that the VOC form needs to be sent with the hard copy of the application together. Yes, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Melissa asked if we have our certificate of clearance with CTC, could that be used in place of Livescan for this requirement? No, I would say no, because unless you have to have specifically for the permit this clearance.
And they need to know if something's happened since that legally. They just need to know that you're cleared to work with children. And that could change from one date or year to another. And so they just want to make sure that it's safe for you to work with children.
Yes, exactly. And I see them looking at you answered most of the questions, Dr. Mo. I think we're good there. Okay. So does anyone have any other questions?
Florista has her hand up.
Oh, go ahead, Florista. Florecita.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
It's okay.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
Go
I
ahead.
have a question concerning the VOC. Is that concerning the CDTC application to make it more faster, or once is that accepted, to make the CTC permit more faster?
It's the permit through the Commission on Teacher Credentialing. CDTC has nothing to do with that.
Okay, so I went through the whole process with the CDTC application. Everything has been approved. They sent it already on the 23rd of February. Now I'm just waiting for the CTC. They gave me the approximate 2.5 months for it to process. So how would I go about that? Do I need to print out the form and send it in, or is it already too late to do that?
It's too late. You have to send it with your original application. They won't accept it later.
Got it. Okay.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we probably need, it would be good now that we're listening to this, it would be good to market the VOC more, right? I don't know how, we have to figure out a way to do that. Bianca, you have your hand up, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I just had a question. So I was signing up for because I'm taking a introduction to teaching right now, and I never received the match letter.
The what letter? I'm sorry.
The match letter.
Oh, the match letter?
Yeah.
Oh, Bianca, are you talking about the CPTP program?
Yes.
Oh,
Okay, I'll send you an email right now. I mean, a
Okay.
private message right now, Bianca. Give me a second.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
There's a question in the chat from Veronica. Does that mean the VOC form you can't use another college in Rio Hondo? Correct. For the VOC, you can only have classes from Rio Hondo because Dr. Mo can't tell you if other classes would meet a requirement from another campus. She can only do it for the campus where she is faculty.
and they couldn't do it for our campus. So you can't use that process at all. That's kind of interesting. They were actually going to get rid of the VOC program last year because of the pre-K through third grade credential, but we spoke up and said, wait, this helps students get jobs. You can't get rid of it until the new permit is in place. So they kept it, thank goodness.
Yes, so helpful. Okay,
We have
City? Did I say that right?
Yep. Yes, yes. I have a question about the assistant. So you need to get a permit, but and then once you get a permit and go to become a teacher, you have to upgrade, like submit another application, or is it?
So are you talking about the assistant or the associate?
Well, for if you get an assistant
That's
permit,
one with 6 units you're talking about?
yes, and then if you finish a lot of units within a year,
You,
and you can promote to a teacher, you need to apply again for another permit?
well, you'd need to upgrade if you
Oh,
qualify for the teacher, and then your 5 years when you upgrade, that will count from when you got the teacher permit to 5 years later when you have to renew. So you can upgrade.
oh,
And
so, and then that's a different application with the CTC?
yes,
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, yeah, and you can set it, you can upgrade on the website. It depends on which level for a couple of levels, I can't think of off the top of my head, there's a couple of levels where you could actually go directly on the CTC website to upgrade.
I think it's
Uh,
teacher and above.
Teacher and above, okay, but for assistant and associate, you would go,
You have to do it by mail.
yes. Okay, let's see. Any other questions? Bianca, your hand is still up. Did you just forget to put it down?
I have a follow-up question. Is that if
Okay,
it's
go ahead.
okay?
Yes.
So, if you have the assistant permit and you can upgrade to an associate teacher, what does that, like, do you wait until you get to a different level, like say teacher? Or because that's like 3 steps that you
You
just,
can
yeah.
jump steps. You can jump
Oh,
steps.
you can. Okay, you
Yeah,
can.
let's say you have
Okay.
assistant, and then let's say you get your associate's degree in child development. You can go from assistant to teacher.
Oh, okay, that's good. Okay,
Yeah, you can jump.
yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you.
It saves you money.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And something to keep in mind, once the commission receives your application, they send you an email that they received it, but they won't communicate with you anymore. They give you a website where you can go, or a site where you can go and find out, track your progress with your permit, sorry. And so you want to make sure you pay attention for that email, and that you remember that they're not going to contact you. You have to go on their location and check on things.
Yes, in the past, I believe students would get like a certificate mailed to them. That doesn't happen anymore. You go to the CTC website, you put in your name, like I think your social security number, and then it tells you the status of your permit.
Correct.
Any other questions? Well, you have our contact information. Emily's going to be sending out a copy of the PowerPoint to everyone so that you can reference it. If you have any questions at all, you know how to reach us. Good luck in your journey of getting a permit. And thank you for having us.